So this is going to be a presentation video of the main tasks needed to maintain the system invoice flow or Fakturafil.dk. So what you're seeing here is the administration section that you have access to when you are an administrator profile. That means that I'm currently logged in as a customer, but I have additional um, functionality mainly listed in this section of the screen here. Um, what is the main feature is the maintenance takes place in this menu point called Files with Errors. And if I click there, I can see all the files that needs to be handled at the moment. So continuously new files will come into the system, and we need to maintain the templates and create new templates for extracting the invoice data. So this is the overall list of invoices that needs to be handled. You can see a company name here in this column. That means which company is it that has received this invoice. And well, there are actually two types of invoices or maintenance tasks. You can see those that are marked with yellow. It says imported with errors. That means that it's actually an invoice that has been imported, but the surveillance system has called out some errors that it has detected. The green ones here means a new format awaiting creation. It means those are new templates that needs to be created. It's not always like that, but it could be that an invoice for some reason is not matched with the correct parser. In that case, it will also say that it's awaiting creation. But let's see how this works. Finally, you have one called scanned billede, means scanned image. So in this case, it's an image or perhaps even just a text file that we cannot detect. So immediately when I look into this column, I can see that it's text HTML and we do not support that. So I can dismiss this as not being an invoice, but it's probably, as I can see, it says body. It's probably the body of an email instead. So all I need to do is check mark this, and down from the options menu here, I can change the status to undersøgt af fakturafil bliver ikke importeret. It means examined by fakturafil will not get imported. And once I've changed the status, it will be removed from this list. Okay, so what I basically do is work from the list from below and going upwards during this. So I can see that the next one in line here is awaiting creation. So this is supposed to be a new format. So I click the new parser point here, and I see two parts here. I see right side, which is a preview of the document, and I see the working area where I will identify the distributor and I will create the parser that's needed for it. Okay, immediately I see from this that it's called betalingsadvisering, or in other words, it means payment advising. So this is actually not an invoice, so I can disqualify this. So what I need to do is go back, so I'm gonna click my files with errors. I can mark this, so you can see now it's not even the latest one. We just changed from 19 till 20. So I know this is number 19, and I will set the status to this one called file is not an invoice. It's an account statement, or in this case, it's a payment statement. So I'm going to change that. And I only use those two statuses. This one that we have here, file is not an invoice, and the other one set examined by Fakturafil will not be imported. I don't use any of the other statuses. Okay, so we had a new one called Café Blåskov. I'm gonna skip that one because you will not have it in the test database that is created for you. So I'm gonna jump onto this Moskær, the next one here. I'm going to create a new parser for this one. And I'm looking at it and I can see instantly, well, it's not an invoice. Well, I don't know what it is, but it's probably just some kind of added info about what was done. An explanation perhaps to the invoice. So I'm gonna mark that one and also say examined by Factura field does not get imported. And we are on to the next one. This is from Baby Gear. I can see that it says it's from Lomax, the distributor, and it is imported with an error. So apparently there's an error. So what I'm going to click is on the PDF here, which will take me to the invoice page. This is not where we create templates, but this is the actual invoice that the customer will see. So what I can see here is that we have Lomax, the invoice here. On the right side, I can say it says Factura, which means invoice, and all the necessary data I need to extract is here. On the left side, I can see the data that's extracted, but most importantly, this column here that has all these green ones, those are the only one I need to focus on. Well, and plus the amounts. So if I look here, I can see that it has an invoice number, it has an invoice date, but this date is wrong, as you can see. And it has a due date, it has an FI number, and it has some currency, and I can see that it's an invoice. So all the information that we need is actually more or less presented, but in this case there's an error. The error is that this is wrong. But it's actually not much info we need to extract from each invoice. We only need the invoice number, the invoice date. If there is a due date, we need it. And we need some kind of payment. And the payment can be either this FI number, this is a very Danish thing. It could be bank account, or it could be a SWIFT IBAN, which is international payment. So once we have a due date, we always need some kind of payment info, and it can be just one of the three, either the FI number, the bank account, or the SWIFT IBAN. And then of course we need to make sure that the currency is correct. And of course we need that the document type, which can either be an invoice or a credit note, is also set correctly. Then in the sum, we need to make sure that there's a VAT, MOMS means VAT, and the total including VAT is also extracted. So these are basically all the information that we need to extract from the invoice. There are of course special cases. But to make it easier, we have a validation system, and in this case, you will always be able to see which kind of error has occurred. So in this case, it says the import met the following errors. And here you can see in English, it says error saving invoice could not verify invoice date. So fully correctly, it is the 1st of January 1970, it is not correct. So what I'm going to do is I can examine this parser that is extracting the data. But I know from experience that what is wrong is it has problem recognizing this up here. So I'm just going to manually fix this one. So what I need to do is to insert this date, and I do this by saying edit, which is this redigere. It opens up the invoice fields, and I can punch in that it's 12th of April 2016, and I can say save, and it's done. What I need to do now is, since I've punched in new information here, I need to reapply the rules. That's this button out here, Genanvend regler. And that will reapply all the rules that's needed for inserting the correct values in the other fields over here. And you can see that the warning disappeared, and we can now see that the status is awaiting approval. So basically, this is now ready for further process. If I go back to my files with errors, I can see that it has disappeared since there's no more error on it. Okay, the next one is global tool. What you can see here, if if you look at this one and all those up to here, the file name seems to be identical. So probably when I fix this one from Global Tool, I will also get all the other ones fixed for free. So this is perfect. So let's try and examine this one. So I click on New Parser to make sure that this is exists. Okay, look, this is SolarMagic. I know this one from because I've worked with this before. So what I do is, and I know that there is actually a template that suits this one. So what I'm going to do, the normal process will be that I start typing Solar, and as you can see, once I hit the third letter, it will come up with suggestions for distributors that we already know. And I can see that this Solar, oh, it's not even here. SolarMagic. This is weird. Okay. I know for a fact that this one exists. So let me just, if I choose this one, Solar Denmark, I can see that it will be looking for this one, solar.dk. It is not here. It's called solarmagic.nu. Let's try and search. It's Solar. Okay. Okay, so perhaps if I spelled it correctly instead of solar, it's a solar. So SolarMagic exists already. So it's here on the list. And this is very important that you don't create new distributors, because if we have multiple instances of distributors in the system, um, we will have a lot of cleaning to do afterwards, because we'll have multiple instances of the same distributor, we'll have multiple templates for each distributor. So this is really bad. So it's really important that we try and figure out if this one exists already. Okay, but I found the one that's interested. And what I can see here is that it has a template. That's the one that's listed here. So why did it not recognize this? If it had recognized this, it would have indicated it with a company name up here. So for some reason, it is not able to detect these keywords that identifies the distributor. So let me just examine by clicking on this view text output. I will see the text that it's behind it. And when I look down through this text, I can see that there's a lot of text here, but it is not finding any of the identification keywords in there for some reason. And this can be because the way that it has been scanned by the company, that it's not finding these. So what we should probably do is, I'm looking for, this is the IBAN number I can see, and I can see that down in the right here, but it is not part of the text because it's probably inserted as an image. So I have no way of identifying this because the company inserted this as an image. So what I'm going to do is basically run an OCR conversion of the template. And the way I do this is go back to my overview. I'm gonna take this one from Global Tool, mark it, and use the button Run OCR. So this is gonna take the original template that we received, and it's going to convert it. And as you can see, it basically, after it was converted, it identified the correct parser and ran the import again, and everything was fine. So what I'm going to do is basically apply the same thing for the rest here, just to not overstress the OCR. And we're gonna do like just 3 of the time. And well, you need to know that we pay money every time we run the OCR. It's a per usage license that we pay, so there's a small cost involved in this. So that's why we don't do it with everything. And as you can see, basically all of these documents are being converted nicely. Oops, I just ran an import. That was not what I intended. The import basically runs the import and it will just fail again with this. Okay, you can see now we hear that there's a new one that says afventer import, it means awaiting import. It's a temporary status that this file has because it's during the import process. So it will probably disappear next time I refresh this page. So I'm gonna run an OCR on these two files. And it is imported. Okay, cool. So the next one is Infomedia House up here, and I can see that it is it's an invoice, and there's an error. So if I click on the file name here, I will go to the invoice and I'll get a notification of what is wrong here. So you can see that basically it's saying the sum ex VAT is higher than sum including VAT, and yes, that is correct. I can see that it is extracted minus 19, but I can also see that the total is 0. And if I check with the invoice, yes, the total is actually 0. So from this standpoint, it is actually correct. So it's just because the invoice is a weird invoice. I mean, you can see that there are numbers here, but for some reason it's not going to put in minus 19 something something, but it is 0. And we are not trying to really correct invoices. We only extract the data that's there. So all I need to do now, I've done a manual verification that this is correct. All I need to do is say reapply rules. This will basically remove the error message and assume that it is correct. And then it's up to the customer to basically handle this. And you can see that it says awaiting approval, so it's actually further on into the process, but not with our error handling anymore. Okay, so the next one is Udfix, and let's take that. So this one is it's an invoice. It's from a company called OK. It's yeah. I will use this one to show you that you can actually also punch in invoices manually. If you do that, it is a separate interface. So you have the one link here says manually, and if you click that one, you will come to this interface, and it's only basic information that we can punch in here. And what you do is you start with this distributor. We know that it's OK. It's really not. It's OK. I just insert a space, and I will see that I have OK Amber. I think that's the one. So, yep. And the invoice number is here, and I can punch that in manually. Oops. It's called, let's see, 1231176. The other thing I need is an invoice date, and I can see it's the 11th of April. Okay. Payment is not here. I don't have any due date, so I don't have any other invoice dates here. Customer number is not required. Your reference not required. Is there FI number? No, that's not. Bank account? Yes. No. There's no bank account here. Danish bank accounts always have 4 initial numbers and a space, and then from 6 to 10 numbers afterwards. It's a very Danish thing. It is not here present, so since it's not present, we cannot insert it. Same goes with Swift IBAN, nothing there. Okay, the CVR number is here. That is not. That is a nice thing to insert, and it is the provider CVR number. So it's this one, 9039. So 39 17 04 18. I know I said that it's well, it's also one of the information that is required. Okay, and what I have here is the total, and the total is 99. And to avoid having to punch the VAT, which is the VAT 25%, I can just click the calc VAT and it will calculate the 19.80 for me. And it is all I need. That is all the information that's available here. Okay. Now it has created the invoice with the customer, and it throws us a status that says that the vendor's ERP number is missing, but it's okay. It's a status that is basically means that the customer needs to set it up in his part. Okay. So I think we're gonna take a break for the first part.